The Patriots are across the pond getting ready to take on the Jacksonville Jaguars in London on Sunday. The Pats have lost 5 games in a row and are looking to break that streak on Sunday. The Jaguars, they're the perfect opponent because they're 1-5 as well. And joining us now is CBS Sports NFL staff writer Tyler Sullivan. And Tyler, 9:30 a.m. kickoff. Are we drinking tea or coffee for this one?
It's probably got to be a little tea, right? I mean, we got to go with the theme. I usually would roll up with my coffee, but, you know, these Patriots are playing in London. We got to go with the high tea time and whatever they do over there. We got to kind of fit the mold of the English vibe in the NFL in Week 7.
And Tyler, I think a lot of people would be happy to know that you actually picked the Patriots to win this game, which I know you've been picking against the Patriots a lot this year, and rightfully so. But how come for this one you think the Pats are going to win?
I know, I feel bad picking against the Patriots sometimes because it just feels like I'm picking on them, but not the case this week because this is an ideal matchup for them in a lot of different ways. As you mentioned earlier, the Jaguars 1-5 on the season. They're not a particularly good team either. And unlike the Patriots, who kind of feel like they're on the ascent at least a little bit coming off the heels of Drake Maye's first start, this team feels like it's going in a completely different direction in the sense of people could lose their jobs, people could lose starting spots, and overall, this Jaguars team struggles in a lot of areas where I think the Patriots can exploit. They're 30th in the NFL on defense in yards per play allowed, and they're dead last in the red zone. So if the Patriots are able to get into the red zone, if we're going off of what they've been able to allow prior to this game, 76% of the time the Jaguars are letting up touchdowns in the red zone this season. It's the worst in the NFL. So if you look at Drake Maye, if you look at this offense, you say, hey, if you can get into the red zone more often than not, they're letting up touchdowns. And I think on the other side of the ball, they don't scare me enough offensively that gives me any pause to think that we might see another 41-point output that we saw from the defense last week.
And this, of course, will be Drake Maye's second NFL start. First time out against Houston, 3 touchdown passes, 2 picks. He also had a fumble as well. But we did see the offense operate in a way that we hadn't seen all year long. So, Tyler, what do you hope to see in his second career NFL start here?
Yeah, that continuation of just that explosion that we just haven't seen from a Patriots offense in a long, long time. And you saw glimpses of it last week, of course, the touchdown to Kayshon Boutte, to Demario Douglas. Those 30-plus touchdowns, the Patriots haven't had that in the last few seasons. I think it goes back to, I think it's the last 5 seasons or so, pretty much post-Tom Brady. They haven't had those explosive plays all too much. And the other thing that I'm looking at from Drake Maye, and it's something that we've talked about a bunch, is how he handles pressure with this kind of depleted offensive line. The Jaguars don't bring a ton of pressure, but one thing that I want to see from Drake Maye is the continuation of succeeding under that spot. Last week against the blitz, he was sensational. All 3 of his touchdown passes came against the blitz. And so to me, when you're looking at Drake Maye, when you're looking at the rookie lumps that we're going to see, we're going to continue to see some turnovers, some indecisiveness at times, some errant throws that were a part of that game against the Texans last week. As long as you're seeing him not make the same mistakes twice, succeed under pressure, that's all you can ask for in a young quarterback.
And one of those 3 touchdowns went to Demario Douglas, who was able to secure his first NFL touchdown with that pass going to him. And Tyler, he had a pretty strong game. 6 catches and 92 yards. And you look at the target shares over these last couple games, he's leading the way among Patriots wide receivers. So can we say definitively he's now the top wide receiver in this Patriots offense, or is that still to be determined?
No, I think that that's probably the case. It's no surprise that he has the most targets. He had 9 last week, and I think Hunter Henry was the next pass catcher close with 5. And that shouldn't be too surprising because, again, we're talking about a rookie quarterback where you're going to want to get the ball out quick, go to your sure-handed receivers that can get open in small windows. Demario Douglas has been doing that pretty much all season. You look at the advanced analytics, he is someone that's able to separate pretty quickly off the line of scrimmage. It's just the Patriots haven't been able to get the football to him with Jacoby Brissett at quarterback. We're able to do so with Drake Maye, and with a young quarterback, with an offensive line that we continue to talk about that has questions, you're gonna want to get the ball out fast, and Demario Douglas is somebody that can certainly do that. Hunter Henry's another one. You see a lot of these rookie quarterbacks lean on tight ends, lean on receivers like Demario Douglas, and sure, you would like to see more of those explosive plays to Kayshon Booty to Jalen Polk whenever that happens. But overall, if you want your quarterback to be upright, he's going to get the ball out quickly, make one or two reads, and that's going to only benefit Demario Douglas in the short term.
One of my favorite images of that last game afterwards was him, Demario Douglas, with the ball, saying he was going to bring it home with him. And a long time coming for him. Glad he was able to finally get that first NFL touchdown. But on the flip side of things, Tyler, in that last game, the Patriots defense, they gave up 41 points to the Houston Texans, and it was just a sloppy game, on that side of things for Drake Maye and his staff and his team. So what do you think has happened to the Patriots defense, and how does Drake Maye fix what has happened on that side of the ball?
Yeah, you say, okay, C.J. Stroud, he's one of the best quarterbacks in the NFL. Those days are going to happen. But when you actually watch the game and see how it actually unfolded, I don't know how much of that is C.J. Stroud and just an high-powered Texans offense or just a lack of discipline and execution from the Patriots defense. You had two different Texans running backs rip off 50-some-odd touchdown runs or 50-yard runs in that game. Just feels like a lack of discipline at times. One thing that I was looking at was penalties for this team as well. Obviously, you look at execution. Part of that is the concentration, not commit penalties. They're fourth right now in the NFL in defensive pass interference penalties called against them. It's those little things that I think is something that Drake Maye kind of needs to hammer down a little bit more. It's one of the concerning things that I have about this team because those are fixable problems. It's one thing if you just simply don't have the talent. That's kind of what we talked about with the offensive line. Just the talent isn't there, so you can kind of talk away those issues. There's talent on this defense that shouldn't be making those mistakes. There's a lot of the same cast of characters that were here a year ago that were still playing at a high level defensively. The offense was certainly some problems, but defensively, that was kind of their calling card. And the hope was that you have Drake Maye coming in, former de facto defensive coordinator. That wouldn't be the thing that slips from this team. And right now, it just feels like they're playing undisciplined football.
You mentioned the cast of characters. Boy, the cast of characters on both teams are completely different from the last time these two teams matched up, which was in 2021. Drake Maye was a part of Bill Belichick's coaching staff. Mac Jones was a rookie for the Patriots at that point. Trevor Lawrence, obviously a rookie as well when these two teams matched up last. And the Patriots won 50-10 in that game in 2021. But you think about all that's changed since then. And, with this Jags team, Trevor Lawrence, he had Urban Meyer as his head coach for that first matchup, or the last matchup. And obviously Doug Peterson's now been at the helm here for several years. I think we all thought this Jaguars team was going to be a team that was on the rise at this point. That has been the complete opposite case this year. How did this all go so south for Jacksonville?
Yeah, I think you can go right to the top. You can blame ownership. You can blame Trent Baalke. You can go to Doug Peterson, Trevor Lawrence. It just feels like this team doesn't have an identity. I don't know what the calling card is for the Jacksonville Jaguars. You heard me reference that defensively, they're letting up 76% of their red zone trips to end in touchdowns. You go on the other side, too. They can't convert on third down offensively. They're not particularly good in the red zone either. It just feels like this team should be led by Trevor Lawrence, who's now getting paid among the highest paid quarterbacks in the NFL. You think that they would be a team on the rise, having their identity, and it just kind of feels like they're wandering in the wind somewhere. So to place blame, I think it's a multi-layer blame pie that we can look at here because Trevor Lawrence hasn't been executing at a high level, but at the same time, his receivers haven't really been doing him any favors. You watched that game last week against Chicago, 4 drops for touchdowns. That's not on Trevor Lawrence. He was throwing some good balls. The receivers aren't helping him in any regard. And then you look at just the execution in certain areas of the field. That's on Doug Peterson. You look at the personnel. That's on Trent Baalke. Putting that all together, that's on ownership. So I think it's a lot of layers here for this Jaguars team as to why they are where they're at right now, which is 1-5.
Is this a must-win game for Doug Peterson to keep his job?
I think so. I think that there's a chance, and I even wrote about it earlier on CBSSports.com. Before they made their 2-week trip to London, they're wrapping up their 2 weeks in London with this game against New England. But prior to that, they were playing the Indianapolis Colts, and I wondered if they didn't win that game because they were still without a win on the season, does Doug Peterson even make the trip to London for this team? And obviously, if they were able to get the win, he's still the head coach of the organization. But if you lose this game, against the New England Patriots team that you should beat. I have the Patriots winning, but Jacksonville certainly could win this game. If you're ownership, if you're the front office and you're looking at Doug Peterson, you say, okay, well, then who can you beat? And you look down the rest of the way for this Jaguars team. You come home, you play the Green Bay Packers, then you play the Eagles, the Vikings, the Lions before you hit the bye. If you can't beat the Patriots, I don't think you're beating any of those teams. And all of a sudden, you're looking at a one-win team going into your Week 12 bye. That would certainly warrant a firing, if not sooner.
It's amazing how things have changed in 2 years for this Jaguars franchise. But Tyler, enjoy the high tea and look forward to seeing how this one shakes out on Sunday. Thanks for the time as always.
Cheerio.